Okay, we're going to go over the review that we did in class for your test on Friday. So the first thing I would do whenever we have an election, and we have it right here, is I want to find out how many total people voted. So I just do that by adding the top numbers. It's really going to help me with pairwise comparison more than anything else, but it's a good idea to know what the total amount of votes are. So 19 and 14 is 33, 33 and 11 is 44, 44 and 10 is 54, 54 and 6 is 60, and 60 plus 3 is 63. So we have 63 total votes in this election. And if you take half of 63, you get 31.5, which means 32 gives you a majority because we're not going to have a half a vote. Now, when we do plurality, that's just first place votes. So I'm going to take everyone's first place votes, and I actually can write it down for runoff with elimination if I wanted to as well. A has 19 votes, B has 14, C is 11, D is 10, and E in these two columns has a combination of 9. So A has the most first place votes with 19. So the plurality winner is A, 19, and you do have to put that score in the parentheses. Border count is when we multiply all the votes, and we kind of take into account every place a vote is in. So A is a pretty simple one. A has 19 first place votes, so we have 19 times 1. It has 0 second, 0 third, and 0 fourth place votes, so plus 0 times 2, 0 times 3, and 0 times 4. And if you add up the last 5 columns, 14 and 11 is 25, 35, 41, and 44, it is 44 fifth place votes. So we do 44 times 5. And 19 times 1 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 44 times 5 is 239. Now B's votes are a little more distributed. It has 14 first place votes. It has 11 and 6 17 second place votes. So 14 times 1 plus 17 times 2. It has 0 third place votes. So 0 times 3. It has 13 fourth place votes because of 10 and 3, those two columns. So 13 times 4, and it has 19 last place votes. So 14 times 1 plus 17 times 2 plus 0 times 3 plus 13 times 4 plus 19 times 5 is 195. You can put that into your calculator and verify that. For C has 11 first place votes. It has 10 and 3, 13 second place votes. C also has 0 third place votes, and it has 19 plus 14 plus 6, so 39 fourth place votes and 0 fifth place votes. So 11 plus 26 plus 0 plus 156 plus 0 equals 193. For D has 10 first place votes. D has 19 second place votes. D has 14 and 6 and 3, so 23 third place votes, and it has 11 fourth place votes. When you multiply across, 10 plus 38 plus 69 plus 44 equals 161. And finally, my E has 9 first place votes, the 6 and the 3. It has 14 second place votes, and then it has 40 third place votes, 19 plus 11 plus 10, 0 fifth and 0 sixth place votes. So 9 plus 28 plus 120 is 157. So my board account winner is E. The lowest score wins. You write the letter with the score. Runoff, we take the top 2 first place vote getters. In this case, it's A with 19 and B with 14, and we eliminate everything else. And what happens if you eliminate everything else is B is in front of A in this column, it gets those 11 votes. B is in front of A in this column, it gets those 10 votes. B is in front of A in this column, it gets those 6 votes. And B is in front of A in this column, and it gets those 3 votes. So when you add their total up, A finishes with 19, and B finishes with 14 plus 11 plus 10 plus 6 plus 3, which is 44. So my runoff winner is B, 44. Runoff and elimination, we eliminate one at a time. So A had 19 first place votes, B had 14, C had 11, D had 10, and E had 9. So I eliminate E. The 3 votes go to C, so that puts C at 14. The 6 votes go to B, so that puts B at 20. So then I eliminate D, which has the next fewest first place votes. When I eliminate D throughout the whole process, D, 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 D. Those 10 votes go to C. So 14 plus 10 is 24. Now A has the fewest first place votes. So when we eliminate A, D and E have already been eliminated. And we eliminate A all the way on the bottom here. C gets those 19 votes. So 24 and 19 is 43. So C is my winner by runoff with elimination with a score of 43. And finally, my pairwise comparison, which has 32 votes each time. That's how we determine the winner. So A versus B. A has these 19 votes and loses every column. So A loses, B wins. And we can do the same thing. For A through all the other letters. A is going to win every first column with 19 votes, but it's going to lose every column to C, D, and E. That's why it loses every match, and therefore every match wins. For B, now when I do B versus C, C wins the first column, B wins the second, so B's at 14. C wins the third, C wins the fourth, B wins the fifth, so now it's at 20. C wins the sixth column. 20 is not bigger than 32, so therefore B loses to C. C's a winner. B versus D, well, B wins the second column, B wins the third column, so it's a 25. B wins the fourth column, which puts it at 31, but D ends up beating B in that last column. So B ends up with 31 votes. You need 32 to win, so it loses to D. B versus E. B wins the second column, B wins the third column, it's at 25. But E wins the last three columns, so B loses to E. So therefore E is a winner here. C versus D. D wins the first two columns, C wins these 11 votes, and C wins the last column with 14 votes. So C does not beat D, loses, and D wins. C versus E. C literally wins the middle two columns, and that's it over E. It wins 21 votes. That's not 32. So C loses to E. And then finally, D versus E. D wins the first column, but E wins the second. So D's at 19 votes. E wins the third column. D wins the fourth column, puts it at 29 votes, but E wins the last two. So E wins over D. D loses, E wins. So A was 0-4, B is 1-3, C is 2-2, D is 3-1, and E is 4-0. So E is my winner. The undefeated option is always your winner. Page 2 of this is the approval method. We're just counting across 6, 8, 11, 6, 9, and 8. Whoever has the most wins. Hamburger wins with 11. You need to know 3 of these 4 options. The pros, you have more options. Strongest candidate, reduces negative campaigning, and adding and removing candidates does not affect your vote. Those are the positives to approval method. The cons, your majority may not win. We have insincere voting. We have approving everyone or no one is not a vote. Doesn't affect it in any way. And obviously the last one, which is probably the toughest or the biggest con, is you can have ties. Here's one more pairwise comparison. Once again, get your total votes first. 12 and 11 is 23, 33, 42, 46, 49. 49 divided by 2 is 24.5. So we need 25 votes to win. 25 will give you the majority. In terms of Pepsi versus Coke, it's a winner in the first column, loses the second column. So it's at 12 votes. Now it's at 22 votes. But Coke wins the last 3 columns, so Pepsi is a loser to Coke. Second one, Pepsi versus Mountain Dew, P versus M. Wins the first column, it's at 12 votes, loses the second, loses the third, loses the fourth, fifth, and sixth. So that's a loser over Mountain Dew. Pepsi versus Sprite. Wins the first column with 12 votes, then loses, 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 loses. So it loses to Sprite. Sprite's a winner. And then finally, Pepsi versus Dr. Pepper. wins the first column, 12 votes. Loser, 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 wins the fourth column, which makes it 15 votes. Still not the 25 you needed. So Pepsi loses to everybody. Dr. Pepper's a winner. Coke versus Mountain Dew. Okay, so our Coke versus Mountain Dew. Coke wins those first two columns, which is 23 votes right away. And remember, we just need to get to 25 votes to win. So it has these 23 votes here, and then Coke over Mountain Dew with 9 makes it a winner. Coke was over Sprite, same deal. Coke over Sprite, 23 votes right away. So Sprite wins the second column, Sprite wins the third column and the fourth column. Sprite wins the fifth column, but Coke beats Sprite in that last column, which puts it at 26, which it allows it to win. And then Coke versus Dr. Pepper wins the first two columns again, 23 votes, loses here, but wins right here. It's at 32 votes. That's a winner regardless of the last two columns. So Coke is a winner across the board. It's 4-0. To finish out the chart, though, Mountain Dew over Sprite. Mountain Dew wins the second column, which is 11, wins the third column, which is 10, so it's at 21 votes, and then wins the last two columns, puts it at 28. So Mountain Dew is a winner over Sprite. Mountain Dew over Dr. Pepper. Mountain Dew loses the first three columns. Okay, actually the first four columns. It only gets 7 votes, so clearly loses to Dr. Pepper. And then finally, Dr. Pepper versus Sprite. Sprite over Dr. Pepper over Sprite. Sprite over Dr. Pepper, how you want to go about it. I'm going to do Sprite over Dr. Pepper. Loses here, loses here, loses here. Sprite wins this column. Sprite wins this column. And Sprite wins this column. So the last three columns give you 16 votes, which clearly is not enough to win. So therefore, Dr. Pepper is our winner. Sprite is our loser. Once again, Coke, which is C, is 4-0, and that becomes our winner. Once again, we do need to be undefeated to win by pairwise comparison. All right, last one. Our last page is multiplying and dividing fractions. If you look at the top left and the bottom right, when you multiply, you can look to simplify right away. You can't simplify vertically here, but you can here. This simplifies to 30 over 17. And then I look diagonally. 30 goes into 30 one time. 17 goes into 17 one time. 1 times 1, 1 times 1, my answer is 1. Here, we look to simplify vertically first. 18 over 63 is 2 over 7. 45 over 24 is 15 over 8. 2 goes into 2 one time. 2 goes into 8 4 times. You can't simplify diagonally this way. So we're left with 1 times 15 is 15, and 7 times 4 is 28. With division, it's multiplication. We just flip that second fraction first. Flip the second fraction before we reduce anything. You can't reduce these given fractions. But if I divide these both by 2, we get 8 and we get 11. I divide these both by 5, I get 3 and I get 5. 8 times 3 is 24. 5 times 11 is 55. We always finish by multiplying across. Down here, whoops. Okay, so this last one here, I actually flipped the fraction first, so 22 over 16, and I reduced it to 11 over 8. And then I went diagonally. 8 goes into 8 once, 8 goes into 24 3 times. 11 goes into 11 once, 11 goes into 33 3 times, and then 3 over 3 becomes 1 over 1. So there's a lot of different ways that you can simplify in terms of order. There's really no particular order you have to go in. You can reduce first, then go diagonally, or you can go diagonally and then reduce the fractions. Really up to you. To finish up, 1 times 1 over 1 times 1, we do get another answer of 1.